Hello, my name is Kyle Davis, and this is my status update on my action Hank levels. So this level is the first level where we get to incorporate all the mechanics together simultaneously. This is one of the first actual levels you're going to play through, and I tried to make it as auto-scroller as possible, so it's very linear in where you have to go and what you have to do, but it takes a few of the concepts and ramps them up in a way the player hasn't seen yet. So I'm trying to really make them think on this level because this is going to start ramping up the difficulty significantly. And if we don't get them used to this, they're never going to be able to finish the last couple levels. So I wanted to start with that. So first off, we have our start down here, and we slowly do a bunch of wall jumps and regular jumps through this area, which has a weird cadence, but it helps the player figure out how to move their character around a lot better to be able to get through on this bottom area. We need enough area here so we get enough speed, so I have that set up. I'm thinking about maybe putting something here, just so that it's a little bit more crowded in and it flows a little bit better, but I'm not quite sure. Um, and you'll have to wall jump, and then you get to this checkpoint here on this area, and then we go through our first sequence of acceleration. Now this one, we have to have them go off these ramps to get enough speed to make it through the area. But depending on the player's experience, they can either gain very little speed or a lot of speed. So that's something that I wanted to reward or hinder the player with, which we're coming up to in our next area. Because depending on where they go on this area, plus this block combination, means certain things once we go on later in the level. So, first off, you're going to have a little bit of a slowdown here. So this is more of an initial start point, because we have our first checkpoint here. So if you fail and somehow die before reaching another checkpoint, can come back and perform from that area and complete the whole sequence until you get to another checkpoint. That was something that I needed to make sure happened, so that if players did die, which they will eventually at one point in this level, it's one of those things that I just want to make sure didn't happen partially. So then once we go and they accelerate and get to the top here, there's two ways that they can go about this. So they have the initial, they slide up here completely, and then they just keep the slide going, which in that case they're going to lose a lot of speed. So they're only going to be able to use one of our two areas we have set up over here. But if you jump off at about this point, you keep all of your momentum and you don't bonk off this top area. So you'll be able to hit to about here and be able to slide almost immediately and gain even more speed, which then relates to our two areas we have over here. So we have a very high area that's kind of hard to get to. You have to preserve all of your speed to be able to get up to this area. And this gives you a little bit of a different way of completing this next area, but it comes with different pitfalls. So let's talk about the intended area first. So the intended strat is you go along this and you don't build enough speed. Then you're going to fly up, miss getting on that, but you'll see it. So if you want to reset, you can. But you'll fall and hit onto this platform, which then you must skip your way up these platforms, and then you have to slide and wall jump your way down in here to be able to get into this area. Now this area then gives us another very long wall jump to do with a little bit of a trap at the end here, because if you preserve too much speed going up this and you accidentally hit this and mash again, you're going to start going back down. So you're going to fall back down to the initial area and then have to go back up again. And then you get to the end point. Now, for the pitfall I was talking about earlier, there's no bottom on this. So if you hit the floor, you just die, because this is supposed to be the floor is lava kind of game. And along with that, you're building up massive speed along here, because you're going to intentionally want to drift down and then drift along this, which will immediately shoot you straight into the ground. So you have to completely minimize your acceleration at that point. So it's just giving players another look out, because something like this might happen later. as we try to train them in dealing with more eccentric and hard ways of playing the level. So, next thing I guess there is to play the level and show you what it's like. So let's start off with a fresh timer first. So then you jump through there, you wall jump around, you want to hit onto there, and then you get just enough speed to be able to get a small drift off there. Then here we want to accelerate, and then if you do your jump to get your perfect timing, you'll get enough height to get up top onto this. And then as we see, you have to really watch where put your area there, because that's something that can hurt you as we go. So then that's the one intended route. That's for the experts. If we go the regular version route, where you can't get through everything, here's the thing. Every single one of these areas is recoverable, even if it doesn't look like it. So I'm jumping slow purposely there, because I want to show something off. So then if you get stuck here, there's a few ways to do it. You can just jump up. Or if you want to gain more speed, do a double jump. This is one of those things where we're trying to put multiple areas in this so that people have a huge amount of variety to work with. As you see, if you don't slide on this area, you won't make it. It's one of those things you have to slide on that area. So we're teaching players that you need to use all of your abilities, but you need to know the right times to use them, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to get anywhere. This is the secondary route, or, well, this is the primary route that we end up giving the player. And then this, it may not look it, but that's actually a lot of button inputs to do that long jump. So, if we go back, and I zoom in on that, it's going to look like I just wall jump back and forth. But one of the weird things about this game is when you press X to jump, that gives you a certain amount of momentum. But if your character is not moving in that direction, it's going to not give you the right amount of lift you need. So then you're just going to hop between two areas or just completely fall back down. The key here is to wiggle your mouse, or not your mouse, your motion from forward and backwards in time with as you're wiggling with how you're jumping. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to be able to get up at all. So we're trying to teach some more mechanics of preserving momentum in different ways. Because most people, from what I've seen when looking into this game, they will start by only pushing forward one way. So they'll only push forward the entire time. Even when they start having to go backwards, it's not until late that they start realizing that they need to start wiggling the controller back and forth as they go. So this is to promote more good habits in this game. It's just one of those things. And then also we had our set dressing of putting down a bunch of blocks that you could see. I needed to make sure all of these hit the ground because you can fall through these, and this is a pitfall trap. So it was just one of those things that I had to keep in mind as I was building. So we got that. Also, another thing, I wanted to do a concept where when you get up to here, you have to slide under an object. So if I put a thing here and then the character is about yay tall, he's about this tall, he'd need to slide to get under. But that doesn't actually work. There's a bug in this where if you have an object set like this, they will phase through it, but they won't be able to jump. It's really odd, and I'm not quite sure why that is. But I would have liked to see that mechanic kind of get in, because then you can promote some more. You have to slide in this area because it's the only way for you to progress, or else you lose out on time. Just one of those things. But other than that, this is what the level is. It's going along pretty good. I'm expecting to get 2 more done. So this is going to be the first of the actual levels that they play through. And then we're going to go through with a level that focuses more on some of the sliding aspect and doing loops. And then I also want to see about combining everything together and then flipping it up with a new mechanic that we can add in at the end, because it's more of an end game mechanic that you even get this when you know how to preserve your momentum and you start needing to think about more radical ways of movement. So that's my level. Thank you very much. Have a good day.